There are places you would like to go. There are faces you would like to see.
My palm is bruised. It's a tiny scar, but it's very painful.
Too many exciting things happening all at once.
From time I've always loved playing the villain.
But you can't be everywhere. Guess what? Yes, we can. Your favorite lifestyle content lives here. Let us be your eyes and ears here on Entertainment News on Channels Television.
Big tech wasn't really here. What have they seen in the past 10 years, which is making all of them want to put their HQ here?
If you're a business that sees itself going global, we'll definitely need some sort of like boost. We need to tap into those existing networks that these big tech companies do provide.
Is there a downside to big investment in Africa? Okay. It's a tricky question.
We want to be like Amazon, we want to be like Google. Like, this is not, we are not looking to sort of be just another player.
For me, big tech is something highly controversial. I see the value of it, but I also see that Africans should stop playing second fiddle to some of these organizations and have the confidence to start building our own technology.
You've seen how we are using the limited resources we have to solve real problems. They've seen indigenous tech startups achieving things that took them years to figure out.
Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale here in Abuja. So much to chew to that. Perhaps something that will gladden the hearts or warm the hearts of many Nigerians after a lot of pressure on government. It does look like the government is caving and about to pressure. And now they've reversed their decision. At least for now, they say it's going to be reviewed. And that's in the controversial cybersecurity levy. After the Federal Executive Council meeting today, the Minister of Information came out to say that that policy will now be on hold as it's now going to go through some kind of review. Take a listen to the minister.
On the table. Is it the one for cybersecurity? Levy. The position of government is that that policy has been suspended. That policy has been put on hold. That is the position of government for now. It is undergoing some form of review. It was reiterated in council yesterday. You know that today's council is a continuation of the council meeting of yesterday. So I can tell you the cyber security levy has been put on hold. It is being reviewed by government. For now, it is on hold.
The Minister of Information. Now, no more fear, at least for now. Cybersecurity levy on hold. For those who are clamoring, saying the burden and the tax and the levies and tariffs coming from government is too much. That is on hold. We see how that pans out in the coming days. Tonight, I'll treat you to a dose of an episode that will deal with the politics of Rivers State, the legality, the lamentation and the pains of Governor Simfu Bara of Rivers State about the governance in the past years in the state. He said he will probe. He says there is a huge debt burden. And in fact, some contractors are not being paid, and they've come back to ask for their money. All of that we'll be telling you tonight on the program. Plus, we'll take you to a very major campaign promise that President Bola Tinubu said. Don't forget when he said, how can any Nigerian take 100% of his own money to go and buy a car or buy a house? It doesn't happen in most civilized world. And so the president doesn't look like he's bringing his campaign promise to bear and is fulfilling it. We'll be hearing what this means. The consumer credit scheme. How does it benefit? They say it will start with civil servants first in the first phase. But how does it benefit you as a citizen? We'll be dissecting all of these for you tonight. Sit out, everyone, because we have a full package for you on the program. Let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The scheduled arraignment of former aviation minister Mr. Hadi Sirika and his brother Ahmad Sirika, this time in a case of contract fraud in the sum of 19.4 billion naira, did not go ahead as the defendants were absent in court and out of Abuja. Counsel to the EFCC, Mr. Uluwaleke Atolagbe, informed the presiding judge, Justice Suleiman Belgore, that the former aviation minister and his brother have also not been served with a charge in the case. He therefore prayed for an adjournment, which was granted by the judge. Justice Belgore subsequently fixed Thursday, May the 23rd, for arraignment. Ahead of the forthcoming governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is asking for the support of civil society organizations for the mobilization of voters for registration and the collection of their voter cards before the election day. INEC National Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu made the appeal at a meeting with representatives of civil society organizations in Abuja. According to him, the commission The House of Representatives has moved to declare a state of emergency in Nigeria's health sector with a plan to ensure adequate funding for infrastructure. The chairman of the House Committee on Health Institutions, Mr. Amos Magaji, disclosed this in Otukpo, Benue State, during an oversight visit to the Federal University of Health Sciences teaching hospital. Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State has signed into law the bill establishing Farmers and Herders Board. The move is aimed at preventing clashes and promoting security in the state. Governor Mohammed also signed the Access to Basic Education Law, which is expected to increase school enrollments. Other laws signed include the Rural Access Road Authority 2024 and the law to establish the Border Communities Development Agency. The Edo State government has accused the All Progressives Congress, APC, in the state of malicious campaigns ahead of the September 21st, 2024 governorship election. The Commissioner for Communication and Orientation, Chris Nehikare, made the comment today in Benin City, where he said the APC, in their attempt to woo the electorate, have resorted to blackmail rather than focus on their manifestos ahead of the governorship poll.
So much, everyone. And there you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. We'll get to one of our top stories that I showed you earlier about the rescission of the federal government's policy on cybersecurity levy. They say it will go through a review and is now suspended. We'll be getting some insight into that. But let me first and foremost get to bring you up to speed with what is going on as far as the decision of government is concerned based on the campaign promise that was made in 2023. We, of course, know that during that campaign, the president had come out to say then a candidate, Bola Tinubu, I remember, I think it was in Wari in Imo State precisely, where he says to curb corruption, people do not have to go and carry huge amount of money, pay 100% for a house, millions of naira, and also go and pay 100% on a car. I mean, where in other climes, you can all parade the payment or spread the payment across the years, pay a little and pay across the years. But in Nigeria, that facility or that opportunity does not exist. Except you go to the bank and you'll be paying in double digits of interest rate. Because the government has said they will now turn that curve and ensure that citizens have access to goods and services, and they will be able to spread the payment. And so the government created what they call the National Credit the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, Credit Corp. Is a significant move to boost social mobility among Nigerians, initially exclusive to civil servants. And this scheme aims to make consumer credit accessible and empower economically active citizens. And of course, the president had appointed a 36-year-old Uzoma Nwagba as the managing director and chief executive officer of the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation. The appointee holds a master's of business administration from the Harvard Business School and a first-class bachelor's of engineering from Howard University in Washington, D.C. Before his appointment, Engineer Nwagba served as a chief operating officer of the Bank of Industry in charge of driving microcredit and other financial interventions at the institution. So Nwagba is live here in our studio. He has the credit card, and he will be giving us insight into what it means, whether or not this government is fulfilling the campaign promise of candidate Bola Tinubu, and what this would benefit to the average citizen. Thank you so much, Mr. Nwagba, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sheon. It's good to be here.
Yeah, let me ask you straight up. Is this a fulfillment of President Bola Tinubu's campaign promise? That, look, no longer will any Nigerian citizen will have to take 150 million naira, 70 million naira, 50 million naira just because they want to own a home or own a house, or go take 30 million, 12 million naira, 15 million naira because they want to buy a brand new car. Is that the idea?
Yes, that's the idea. We have a mandate to make consumer credit more accessible to millions of Nigerians and to fix whatever are the barriers to achieving that. So we know that consumer credit is all about access to capital for people to be able to, yes, like you said, pay for things over time. And it's essentially like I say all the time, that you shouldn't be buying a house when you are 60 if you can buy one when you are 35 and pay with the same income that you would earn over that period, so you can have a home for 35 years or for 25 years. And so the idea is that we will be able to remove those barriers that stop people from accessing consumer credit from their financial institutions and allow them to have a higher quality of life. Like you mentioned earlier as well, the second reason why President Tinubu has been adamant about making this happen is because of corruption, and he's quite vocal about that we are economically active Nigerians who are working on incentives. That means that people have an incentive to be corrupt, to amass a lot of money or to hold a lot of money when they do not know or cannot access these basic goods and services without paying in full and paying cash and carry. So you have the civil service where people have to have 30 million naira, 40 million naira, like you said, to buy a house. So our job is to remove those barriers and make it easier for Nigerians to have access to a higher quality of life and pay over the life of their working life.
Okay, so let me ask you, because I know you schooled in the U.S.
Yes.
And this there is a popularity of this kind of facility. In fact, if you go into some outlets in the United States and you carry a huge amount of money and you say you want to buy something in cash or pay upfront, they'll look at you like a madman, because credit and credit and credit is the market or the system of America. Right. They want you to pay on. They don't like you to pay upfront. I mean, it's good for you to pay upfront.
Right.
What it then means is that even your iPhone, an average American citizen don't have to pay $1,500, $1,000 to buy a phone. It's something that they can pay over. And when they will have to change. Is that the closest model that President Tinubu wants to adopt?
I think that's a model that can be used to explain this. But even models like China have done it much faster, And the idea is, yes, like you said, I lived a good part of I had my education in the U.S. That's my university education. But what I haven't told you yet is that I had a credit card as a student that was just about $1,000, and I had just moved from Nigeria, King's College, to start my schooling there. And over 4 years, I was paying that $1,000 credit card as I was using it every time. And by the time I was done with school, and I then now I just about to start my job after school, I walked into a Toyota dealership and they gave me a $40,000 car. That's a Toyota car.
As a fresh graduate.
As a fresh graduate, because of the credit history that I had built on a $1,000 credit card.
So you built
over 4 years.
How much of credit have you built over that 4 years?
I was the max was at $1,000, so I could not be indebted more than $1,000 at the time. But you use and you pay every single month. but I could not be indebted more than $1,000. But because I was judicious about paying back that credit every single month, whether I use it to buy food or clothing or books or whatever, I was always paying it back. So it didn't matter that my earnings were basically zero as a student, or that the things I were buying were low-ticket items. The idea that I had good credit and good credit habits meant that I was able to walk into a dealership and they said, we look at just run your credit. It takes 2 minutes to run your credit, check out your credit score, and then make a decision to give me that car. Of course, I had a job, but that was less about the job. It was more about my history. So President Tinubu is quite to the point of almost obsession about this problem, that we should let Nigerians be able to have the same experience of being able to build a credit history and access goods and services that improve their life. Because
so some of the things that are applicable in some of the claims that you're talking about is that they have citizens have social identity.
Yes.
In the United States, it's called the Social Security numbers.
Yes.
Where is a unique identity for you, and when it's run, it simply brings your profile, or your credit profile, your banking profile out. It tells what you have, what you own, what you are owing, and all what have you. How credible is our database in terms of an average citizen social security status?
Right. So this is a good time to talk about what our job is, actually, how we conduct our business at Credit Corp. So if that infrastructure were credible, what you're just describing, if we were credible in Nigeria, we would not need us. So our first job is actually to strengthen the credit infrastructure of the country, meaning that all credit, that is anybody who borrows money from wherever they're borrowing money, it is written to the credit bureaus, the credit registries, and accessible, all consumer credit. There
is an established credit bureau in Nigeria.
There are credit bureaus in Nigeria.
But work with the banks and all of them.
Yes, but very, very little consumer credit on it. So that means if you're trying to borrow money from any of the banks or from microfinance or fintechs, they can try to check your credit records, but they wouldn't find you. It's quite common, they won't find you. And even a lot of consumer lending happens outside of the deposit money banks that are mandated to write to the credit bureaus. So our first job is even to fix and strengthen that infrastructure so that the financial system can have trust in the credit system, the credit registry, and the credit infrastructure with the data to be able to lend. Today, the CBN does CBN reports about 35 trillion naira worth of consumer credit happening every year. That sounds like a lot of money, but it's not. There's consumer lending happening. People are getting mortgages, buying cars, things on credit. This 35 trillion naira for a country this size, for it to feel half the way it feels in the US, like you described, or even the UK or some of these other climes, we need to be doing about 180 trillion naira per annum for about half the population to start having some decent access to consumer credit. Now, of course, the government cannot fund that. So the financial system, the banks, the microfinance, the people who already do lending today are the ones who have the capital. They have the money. They're just afraid because they cannot put their money out there and lose money. So there's capital preservation, of course, is the most important principle of finance before you now get into being profitable. So our job is to remove that barrier that stops them from lending because they don't have a system they can trust. So that every Nigerian can now have a credit score that is credible, that is a reflection of their credit life, their credit history, their their borrowing patterns, and how they have behaved.
All right. So, I mean, a lot of Nigerians might sound like jargons because these are not terminologies that we're familiar with.
Right.
I mean, credit is not something an average Nigerian is familiar with.
Yes.
So, to get clarity on this, the fact is that Credit Corp and your focus is on consumer credit.
Yes.
That means if I want to buy television, if I want to own a house, do mortgage.
Yes.
If I want to buy a car.
Yes.
If I want to buy basic consumer.
A cell phone, a laptop.
A laptop, cell phone.
Just livelihood, better quality of life items. You want to buy solar panels so they can have electricity, things like that.
That's what your service is.
Yes.
Outside of that,
education as well. Of course, there's a student loan component of the government, but student loans are also part of consumer credit.
Yeah.
Just things that enhance your quality of life.
So I know you are in federal government-owned bank.
Yes, a development financial institution.
Absolutely. I mean, let's call it the bank.
Yes.
For the ease of understanding. You're a federal government-owned bank.
Yes.
What is the difference between the Credit Corp as a financial institution compared to other commercial banks?
Oh, that's a very important question. First is that we do not lend directly to Nigerians. We enable the banks, the microfinance banks, the fintechs, even cooperatives, wherever lending and capital happens today, we enable them to do more. That's one. So first, one of our jobs is, besides strengthening the infrastructure, which I've described in a fair amount of detail, so that every Nigerian has a credit score, the financial institutions can check and see how they behave and rely on that to lend money. That's number one job. So that 180 trillion naira can now come flooding. But beyond that, while we are getting there, because it's going to take a long time, even in the immediate, we are doing wholesale lending. This is back to your question, meaning that we have capital and we will give them to the financial institutions, the banks, microfinance, etc. And we say, if you need more capital to be able to lend more to Nigerians, we will lend to you and you can do that. So that's wholesale lending. The second part of our credit work is around guarantees. And this is important when you talk about made in Nigeria goods. So one of the third piece, besides quality of life and stemming corruption, the third reason why we are here is to catalyze industry, local industry. That means that we want to be able to make money available for Nigerians to buy things that are made in Nigeria so that manufacturers can have a proven demand for their goods and services. So
that is if they agree. If I'm manufacturing this device, for example, and I agree to get a prorated payment, because a lot of the Nigerian manufacturers or even the outfits are not used to having a prorated payment.
No, Sharon, it doesn't. They get full payment.
Oh, they get full payment.
Yes, when you go to the Toyota dealership, where you go, or they get a mortgage or whatever, the real estate developer or the Toyota, in this case, dealership, they get paid in full. That's why the financial institutions are there. It's the banks, the microfinance that run the credit. So if a manufacturer who makes, let's say, I don't know, furniture, and as long as they're making this in Nigeria, this is the third part about credit guarantees. So besides giving wholesale lending that I mentioned, we also give credit guarantees, meaning if a financial institution has its own money, wants to lend its money, but wants the risk to be shared, meaning that if they lose money or there's no repayment, that they want someone to share the risk, we can get into sharing that risk if they are lending money for local manufacturing. That's what I mean by local manufacturing.
So this initiative, which is just started, you are just fresh in your office. This has never happened in Nigeria before.
Yes.
This is novel as far as the Nigerian financial system is concerned. But one of the issues that a lot of people will have in going to collect loan, I mean, loans start growing up, collecting loan sounds like a voodoo, sounds like a bad way to live your life. We're not
100%.
used to collecting loans. Nigerians need to start learning or understanding that when you have to own some of these things that are basic good things of life, and you don't have to eke out all of your life savings or life earnings to buy these. We need to now start learning all of these. But the question is that the interest rate. The bank, you know what the interest rate are? They're in double digits.
Yes.
You know.
So first of all, is that
is credit cards going to be in double digits too?
First, we are lending to the financial institutions. So we are definitely going to make it more competitive rates to the financial institutions, and then they would lend to Nigerians. So our goal is that they will obviously pass on those savings to the Nigerians. On what you talked about, the cultural reorientation, meaning just people having a different view on what credit is. I think you took the words out of my mouth because that's our third job. So I talked about infrastructure first, then I talked about providing capital through credit guarantees and wholesale lending. And then the third work is actually education of the public around credit. A credit is a tool to turbocharge your life, not a bad lot, something that has happened as a result of misfortune. So that you borrow money to accelerate your life. It's like
and then you just need to understand that you don't have to use your hard-earned money to do anything. All your money, just carry. You have a 50 million, 30 million naira savings, and you want to own one property or one thing, and you carry all of those money and you throw it at that item.
You shouldn't do that.
We should start having that culture, because that's the life.
Yeah.
People save all their monies, and at the end of the day, they buy only one item. They buy a house, and they go broke.
So since you talked about the US, I'll use that as an example. If you think of course, GDP is not literally the sum of everybody's income, but roughly, you could think about it as that. You know, if you took everybody's earnings in the country and add it up, it's roughly a simplified way of talking about GDP. In the US, everybody's income in the country is a certain amount. The amount of consumer credit that is now done on top of that income is twice. So that means that if you people who earn $100,000 in the US are living a lifestyle that is $300,000, and they will live that $300,000 lifestyle for the rest of their life. So you just have had a much better quality of life.
So you're kickstarting with civil servants?
Yes.
For how long?
First, it's going to be, we have a 6-month duration, but it's not going to be that we are not going to access the rest of the public while we start with the civil servants. So it's more like you start and then you add the next demography to it. Okay. The reason why we're looking at civil servants is, one, obviously they are a critical part of the infrastructure of government. They are also a good test bed for this thing we talked about, curbing corruption. But most importantly is that their income is on a regimented, predictable basis. So it's a good way for us to kickstart and work with the structures that already exist. There are financial institutions that already lend to civil servants or can lend to the civil servants, and their income can be measured and tracked.
All right. Let's break it down and try to bring home our conversation now. Let's assume I am citizen Sheung, and I want to own a Toyota Camry 2015 model. Let's assume that it goes for about 10 million naira. Where do I start from to own that car based on the standards of the credit card?
Understood. That's an important question. First, I'll start with how much do you earn. So
it's basically bottom line. I need to have an earning.
You have to have an income is the start credit. You have to have an earning. It doesn't have to be a salary every month. It doesn't have to be.
But what of the case of the instability with jobs, unemployment rate? I mean, people get laid off a few weeks ago. An airline just laid off most part of their staff. So if someone is dependent on this kind of facilities, in trouble, isn't it?
No, well, because unemployment is a hydra-headed problem. There are many sides to the problem of unemployment. We don't want to lose our focus. So adding unemployment to our job is scope creep as far as.
So you focus.
We focus on people
servicing
Nigerians who have an active income. You could be a vulcanizer. You could be someone who is sort of doing a business on the side or an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter.
But you have a proof.
You have to have an active.
Of the standard the standard consistent earning.
Yes, consistent again doesn't mean regimented. It doesn't have to be every day or every month. But the financial system, there are several tools and some that would also be supporting the financial institutions to be able to measure people's income in a way that is not necessarily forcing them to be salaried employees. So if you're a vulcanizer and you earn 20,000 to 5,000 today, 3,000 tomorrow, maybe 0 the next day, 4,000 the next day. But then there are very many predictive models that can figure out what is a reasonable estimate of your financial capacity. And then on the basis of that, you can go to your financial institution and they grant you credit. So back to your question, if I want to get a 10 million naira car, then what you do first is that you have to have a predictable income. Secondly is that you may not be able to service a 10 million naira car now, but you can borrow for, let's say you have an active loan, maybe a solar panel for your house. And based on what we are doing, the credit infrastructure, your credit behavior when you go borrow from your microfinance bank to get that solar panel would now be written to the credit system. And if you are consistent, just like I was as a 20-year-old student, consistent with repaying your credit, you have a credit score that is high. And at some point you can go and, higher and say, okay, now I want to borrow to get a car. And obviously your income would also be following that. So it's a journey, and it's not something that you can just do overnight.
But the first attempt at all of these in easing the life of Nigerians is that the access to it.
Yes.
Consumer credit.
Yes.
Let them, first of all, have access. Then we'll balance up.
Yes. So our mandate, in fact, if you look, we are quite public to say that our job is to get access to consumer credit to half of the commercially active population by 2030.
Quickly, can you tell us, Uzoma, what is the response of Nigerians towards this in the last few months?
Oh, it's been overwhelming. It's been overwhelming. We didn't expect the volume of applications or expressions of interest when we put out an EOI just a week or so after I got appointed. We put out an EOI. And we had about 1.5 million, as of today, close to 1.6 million Nigerians who've indicated interest.
Applications.
Yes, told us what they do, submitted their income information, talked about what they need credit for, and essentially expect that. Right? So we didn't even expect that volume. So I think people have been listening to the utterances of the president and are quite expectant of this. And it is our job, and we are prepared to take a systematic approach to make sure that we continue to go through the demographies of Nigeria.
Audacity is what I see here.
Yes, sir.
You're a 36-year-old, and you have the burden of a noble idea in opening up a channel that will give Nigerians ease of it. Well, if this government is on this lane, it does look like walking the talk. But beyond that is the sustainability and whether or not this, in the end, works for the interest of Nigerians. But I wish you, Uzoma, you and your colleagues at Credicorp all the very best. Thank you so much indeed.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's Uzoma Nwagba, the Managing Director and the Chief Executive Officer of Credicorp. Well, you now know. There are a lot of things perhaps we'll get some information on channelstv.com. How you be a civil servant later on, a general citizen might also be able to benefit in all of it. Thank you so much, Uzoma, for joining us tonight. So we take a break, and when we come back, I will be joined by a senior advocate of Nigeria. So much more to dissect Rivers policy, the decision of the federal government on the cybersecurity level. Be back, everyone.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of the family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
With our mandate to ensure energy sufficiency, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited invites the public to the presidential commissioning of 3 critical gas infrastructure projects. The Ano gas processing plant, designed to process 300 million standard cubic feet of gas daily, located in Asa, Imo State. The 23.3-kilometer, 36-inch gas pipeline from Asa North to Ohaji South Primary Treatment Facility to OB3 Custody Transfer Metering Station in River State, and the AHL Gas Processing Plant GPP2 in Kwale, Delta State, designed to process 200 million standard cubic feet of gas per day. The ceremony will be performed by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, on Wednesday, May the 15th, 2024. Time 12 p.m. Venue Imo and Delta State.
Do you know that you can now print all your essential items for events without even having to leave your home? It's the Cast Prints Combo Deal for all events. Yes! Weddings, conferences, birthdays, burials, etc. Starting from 495,000 Naira only. You get 50 invites, 50 A2 size posters, 50 16-page brochures, 1 large backdrop banner, 1 roll-up banner, 50 jotters with pens, and 50 souvenir carrier bags. Whatever event you're planning, we can adjust to your budget and quantities. Just send your pictures and other information through WhatsApp, and we shall send a design for your approval. Approve your design, and we will produce with super high-quality digital print technology. We can even arrange delivery to your location. Call us now on 0913-156-5016 or 0812-794-9323 or visit our social media pages. Cast Prints, digital printing at super speed.
The governor had come out to talk about the substantial debt burden inherited from the past administration. He said this today. Don't forget that yesterday, or it was over the weekend, the governor said that he's going to probe the governance in the state of the past years. Let me allow you to listen to what he said today.
I heard somebody saying when we came on board, we were fighting federal government. Federal government did not use any instrument in your state to frustrate you. Our scenarios are quite different. If we are fighting federal government, it's a different matter. We're talking about federal government that is giving us support but the rat in the house that is eating the bag of curry. So you can imagine such situation. Huh? But we have already said the attack was finished. If there's one problem this administration has, is debt. Most of the projects that are being commissioned, they are coming for their balance payment, and it's running in millions and billions. I've said I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk because I am part of that system. But when you keep pushing me to talk, I will say it so that they will see the nyash of the fowl.
Right. That is Governor Simlai Ubara dead, of course. So you heard what former Governor Nyesom Wike said about him making a mistake. The Governor Ubara has responded. Well, let's get clarity on some of the legality around these issues. I'm being joined by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Wahab Shitu, who joins us live from our Lagos studio. It's good to see you again, Leonard Stick.
Nice to be here. So you are doing a good job. Thank you for
Thank you so much indeed. Yeah, before I drag you to the Rivers politics and the legality around the back and forth, what do you make of the cybersecurity levy directive of the federal government now that there is a reversal or a suspension of that directive? What do you make of it?
Well, usually, I don't like to comment except I have a considered, position to make. I would rather want to suspend my comment on that because that's not the subject of your invitation extended to me.
Yes, I understand, but it was a story that just came in, which is a major national issue. So you know what has happened over the past days? Nigerians agitated about that levy, and it does look like that outcry and agitations of Nigerians, the federal government has listened and yielded to it. And I thought that as a very senior member of the INABA, you might have some views on when people talk and the government seems to be responding. What is the implication of such a situation?
I have some views to express, but usually I like expressing a considered view based on reasons the research. I've not taken my time to research that subject, and so I wouldn't want to be misleading the public, most of whom are even much more knowledgeable than I am on such subjects. So I would rather like to have a considered, well-researched view before I express it.
Well-respected position, and I won't push further. But let me ask you, what is happening in Rivers State, legally speaking? What do you make of it?
Thank you. That is the subject of your invitation extended to me. It's a constitutional issue, and I believe the answer to the impasse in Rivers State can only be, located within the framework of the Constitution. A lot of issues have been thrown up, whether the governor has the right to relocate the House of Assembly in the manner he has announced, whether the governor has a right under the law to probe with the former governor of the state, and whether the appointment of the Attorney General of the state in the circumstances in which he was appointed, whether it's legal, lawful, and complete. Those are some of the issues that I see, and I don't know which one you want me to specifically respond to.
Let's begin with perhaps the one that is the latest. It was only yesterday that the governor said he will probe past governance, and today he is saying that the government of Rivers State is so much indebted. In that situation, how much of a legal logjam or a constitutional issue could that be?
Thank you. The question is whether the governor of Rivers State has the powers, the constitutional powers, to probe the former governor. Now, if you look at the Rivers State Commission of Inquiry Act, specifically Section 2, subsection 1 of that act. It empowers the governor, when you combine the exercise of that powers with Section 5, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, then you will say, yes, the governor of Rivers State has the powers to probe the former governor if they are proving cases deserving such probe. It derives that power. You can set up a judicial commission of inquiry. You can also set up a commission of inquiry under the Rivers State Commission of Inquiry law of 1999, particularly Section 2, subsection 1 thereof, when combined with the provision of Section 5, subsection 2 of the Constitution. The outcome of such a probe cannot be determined at this stage, but whether in exercise of his executive powers, he can initiate such a probe. The answer, in my view, is yes.
So what, of course, we do know, in what manner would it be? I'm not sure that, so a probe panel will be set up. Is that what the law says, the status? Is that what it says?
Well, if you look at Section 2, subsection 1 of the Tribunal of Inquiry law of Rivers State, 1999, it empowers the governor of Rivers State, in exercise of the powers conferred under that law, to constitute a commission of 2 or more commissioners, and including a secretary appointed by him, to look into the conduct of anyone in the public service of Rivers State, or anyone who has managed or any affairs or of a River State, in order to determine whether there are cases of corruption or wastages or whatever. Now, the question that arises is whether the governor, the former governor of River State, can be said to be in the public service of River State as we speak. But he was in the public service of River State because, as the executive governor of the state, he supervised the activities of public servants, and then he was a public officer. But whether now that he's now serving as the governor of Rivers State, he can be so probed, is a question of interpretation. But in exercise of the powers of conferred on the governor of Rivers State under that Section 2, subsection 1, particularly also the powers conferred on the governor of every state, including the governor of Rivers State, under Section 5, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The governor of a state can probe, can institute a probe in order to determine whether a case of corruption has arisen or a case of wastages has arisen. The only 3 limitations to the exercise of the powers under Section 5, subsection 2 of the Constitution are: it must not, in the exercise of such powers, impede the exercise of executive powers of the Federation. It must also not do anything that will derogate from the continuance of the Federation. And it must also not tamper with any investment or asset of the federal government in that state in the exercise of such executive powers. Those are the 2 limitations.
You know, I don't know if River State has an anti-graft agency like we have in some other states, because some states of the Federation now have their own local anti-graft agencies. But in that sense, the report of that kind of probe panel, where does it end? Where does it go to? Does it go to court?
Well, the report
or through a judicial review, a judicial process?
Well, in the specific case of Rivers State, for instance, the governor will be exercising such powers under Section 2, subsection 1 of the Commission of Inquiry law of Rivers State, 1999. Now, that is a law of the Rivers State House of Assembly. And at the end of such findings of the Commission of Inquiry, of course, the recommendations will be presented to the governor. the outcome of that Tribunal of Inquiry Act, proceedings, by way of recommendation.
If anyone is found guilty, let us take, what happens to the person?
Of course, a white paper will also be issued after the government studies the recommendations. And government can only prosecute on the strength of the white paper. If the white paper says there's a prima facie case, and that some persons should be prosecuted, then, of course, the law enforcement agencies and then the Attorney General of the state will initiate criminal prosecution. But
okay,
let's take a breather. The recommendation of the Tribunal of Inquiry, but on the strength of the white paper, sequel to the Commission of Inquiry.
Let's take a breather, and when we come back, I'd like to get your view, because there are also contention. Local government chairmen are accusing government Fubara of withholding local government funds, and there's this back and forth based on political alignment. Where lies the power of the governor in that sense, in his oversight over local government administration, and also that tier of government and its independence? You'll be giving us insight on the legality of that too when we return from this break, everyone. Join us again.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of the family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
With our mandate to ensure energy sufficiency, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited invites the public to the presidential commissioning of 3 critical gas infrastructure projects. The ANO gas processing plant, designed to process 300 million standard cubic feet of gas daily, located in Asa, Imo State. The 23.3-kilometer, 36-inch gas pipeline from Asa North to Ohaji South Primary Treatment Facility to OB3 Custody Transfer Metering Station in River State, and the AHL gas processing plant GPP2 in Kwale, Delta State, designed to process 200 million standard cubic feet of gas per day. The ceremony will be performed by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, on Wednesday, May the 15th, 2024. Time 12 p.m. Venue Imo and Delta State.
Your guy. Now Olumide Akpata Oludi. See how sweet they like beans and rice. And those people, I will never leave your side. I will never ever. I dedicate my time forever. Time to you, my people. Even if the road be rough, I know mine. 'Cause together we shall stand.
Make we all come out on election day and vote Olumide Osaigbavo Akpata, Una guy, as governor of Edo State. He ready to change our story and bring better life for we and our Pikin them. Vote Labour Party, the party for Papa, Mama and Pikin. Make we vote well, oh. Oludi, confirm. Now you be our guy. Labour Party, forward ever.
Olumide Akpata.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of the family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
An advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Wahab Shitu, has been speaking with us tonight on the situation in Rivers State. But this has a lot of dimension. When the governor of the day says the past government has left with it a lot of debt. I mean, this is a contractual issue because when a government enters into a contract with a contractor, is indebted to the contractor to the extent of the dictate and the letters of that contract, isn't it? So the present government may not be able to vitiate or run away from that contract. So it's tied to the life of that contract. So it becomes a major problem. What do you see? Because the governor is complaining that this money is being withdrawn from the source.
Well, whatever the present governor of Rivers State is saying, I'm happy that he also acknowledged that he was also part and parcel of that same government. Governor Fubara was a part and parcel of the administration of Governor Wiki. He played a fundamental role in that government. So if he's saying something went wrong in that government, as far as debts incurred is concerned, in my view, that will also amount to some kind of self-indictment. I'm happy that he also acknowledged that in his statement, that he was a part and parcel of that same government. Aside from that, government is a continuum. It's work in progress. Now, if former Governor Wike said he awarded contracts, the question we should ask, did he award such contracts? I recall that the reputation that Governor Wike had before he left office, he was generally acknowledged as Mr. Projects. He was seen commissioning projects here and there all over Rivers State. And the general consensus is that he was a performer. Now, he couldn't have been executing these projects using his own personal resources. He probably got some facilities to execute some of these projects. The question to be asked is whether in the execution of these projects, it was for the collective benefit of the state, or whether he derived some personal benefit by way of corruption and wastages. That remains to be proved. I think in a conflict situation, truth is the first major casualty. In the context in which Governor Fubara made the allegations, in the context of the crisis taking place in Rivers State, there are allegations and counter-allegations, some born out of political expediency. So I think right now, it is safe for everybody to keep an open mind. I will not say Governor Wike is innocent. I will also not say Governor Wike is guilty. I will not say Governor Fubara's allegations amount to falsehood. I will also not say the allegations are untrue. What I will say is that until these allegations are properly investigated and there is a prima facie proof of guilt or indictment, I think it is convenient for everybody to just assume that, oh, politicians are playing their games. They are making wide allegations here and there. Some of these allegations have been made by the Wike camp. Some of these allegations have been made by the Fubara camp. What is important, And what one can say is that the gladiators are busy playing politics here and there. But politics is quite different from criminalities. When you allege a crime, the commission of a crime against anyone, you must satisfy the element of proof. You must be able to establish whatever allegations.
Just before you close for us tonight, there is one very confusing or rather disturbing scenario playing out. And this is also around the issue of governance and legality. Now, it's an issue that is being alleged by the Committee of Local Government Chairman in Rivers State, alleging that Governor Fubara has withheld funds meant for the local government for the month of April. In fact, they're saying in one local government, Ahoada, that the funds for March and April have been withheld. And they are saying that they will not even leave office after June, which is the point of expiration of your tenure. I mean, of course, another local government election should have held. But where does the independence of that tier of government, where does it lie? And what do you make of that scenario?
Well, clearly I can say for free that Governor Fubara of Rivers State has no constitutional powers to withhold local government funds. Local government tier of government is recognized by Section 7 of the Constitution. The system of democratically elected local government council areas is recognized by the Constitution. And then the Constitution also stipulates that a law must be provided by the state. In the case of Lagos State, we have local government administration law that will regulate its establishment, the structure, its finances and all that. So clearly, Governor Fubara has no right under the law to withhold the local government funds of Ahoada local government or any other local government for that matter. That is what survives the government.
Thank you so much indeed. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Wahab Shitu, it's good to see you again, and thanks for the insight that you have provided on this very, very troubling situation going on in the politics of Rivers State and its governance. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And that's our show for tonight. On behalf of my colleague, Geoffrey, Bola, Biola, all of them in our Lagos office, and of course, the rest of them here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'll see you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. God bless
On the action with Betano, your